tonight. She walked out of a Florida jail early yesterday morning after a jury found her not guilty in the death of her 2-year-old daughter. No one is more outraged by that verdict than Nancy Grace. Her new book is Death on the D-List, and Nancy Grace joins me now. Nancy, you followed the story probably more closely than anybody else, and you were clearly pretty outraged by the verdict. At the same time, you reiterated your faith in the American justice system. So what do you think went wrong here?
Well, Piers, number one, thank you for having me. I guess that at this point, knowing that Top Mom has walked free leaves more of a sense of extreme disappointment, a feeling of being let down. Because those of us that have devoted, I would say, my entire adult life to public service, well, since the murder of my fiance back in 1979, to see a miscarriage of justice in a system that we hold so dear. I mean, Piers, the justice system is something that I've held onto and believed in since Keith's murder many years ago. And to see it fail is deeply upsetting to me. Amidst claims that she's fielding million-dollar offers and is considering plastic surgery and marriage proposals, it's very upsetting, Piers. It's extremely upsetting.
I mean, here's the thing, Nancy, playing devil's advocate here, because I can tell the passions are running high.
Of course you're going to play devil's advocate. I'm ready. I know what that means.
Well, listen, I mean, you had an extraordinary run of success covering the trial. You made it your own. HLN had fantastic ratings.
Wait. I didn't make anything my own. This story is not my story. This story is Kelly's story. And I remember the night that we first heard about the case. Every day, every morning around 5 a.m., between 5 and 7 a.m., I get a list of about 70 to 80 cases. I start reading them along with my executive producer, Dean. We go through those and many, many others. We go to every website, every news outlet to find the case we're looking for to cover that night. And when I heard the Top Mom story, I heard about Kelly. I said, that's it. That's the case we need to do tonight. That one. And my EP agreed. That was a long time ago, but it's not my case. This is Kelly's case, and it is every parent in America's case as a warning.
I suppose the question for me to you as a legal brain is the inconsistency, really, between continuing to support the system if you feel that it failed so much. What would you do differently in light of this trial, given that you believe it was such a miscarriage of justice? What else could, I mean, you know, I'm going to be fair to the jurors who are being hounded mercilessly.
You're super smart. Here's the deal. That's just like somebody saying, oh, yeah, I believe in God, but I don't want to go to church because I hate organized religion. What a line. Look, the justice system is made up of people. People have faults. It's not perfect. When I tried cases in inner-city Atlanta for a decade, I went into every jury trial knowing it was a crapshoot, knowing it all depended on the jury that I put in the box, the 12 I put in the box. And, that's old. But, it was a scary thing for me because I was always convinced that I could lose the case and there would be a miscarriage of justice. And there was one here. Does that mean I don't believe in our justice system? No. To believe in our justice system and hold it dear, you accept it warts and all.
I get all that. I've made it very, very clear in my coverage of this that I just don't know anybody who would not report a missing child for 31 days. That alone is appalling negligence. And I don't really buy into the post-traumatic thing. I know there are some experts that believe this has been done before. I can't remember any case like this. So I'm totally with you on her failings as a mother, the appalling negligence, the fact that she didn't report it, the fact she went partying, all that stuff. But here's where I have a slight issue against your position, and it's involving the system itself. The jurors have been taking a lot of flack. You know, some have been hounded away from their homes, which I think is reprehensible.
You mean one of them?
90%.
Wait a minute.
Let me finish.
Let's get the facts straight, though.
The point I'm going to make is this. 90%, I would say, of all the legal experts I've had on, when I've really pushed them, all said that there was not enough hard evidence to link her to the murder of her child. Lots of circumstantial evidence, and the beyond reasonable doubt element is one that is clearly the debatable point. But none of them would actually blame the jurors for failing to be able to be absolutely certain that she was directly, inexorably linked to the murder of that child. You don't agree with that. Why?
Okay, number one. To my knowledge, there is one juror that voluntarily quit her job and says she doesn't want to go home because she's afraid. Afraid of what? She hasn't had a single threat. No one said a word to her. Did she voluntarily leave her job, or does she think she's going to do a tell-all book and make a lot of money? So I would inspect her motive. So there's not a lot of jurors, or even several jurors, that have been hounded out of their homes. That's not true. Number two, I don't know who the legal experts you've had on are, but having tried over 100 cases and taken guilty pleas in thousands of cases and argued before state Supreme Courts, I would be willing to suggest that your experts are wrong, because under our law, circumstantial evidence is deemed equal to direct evidence, such as an eyewitness. In many, many cases, Piers, and you know this very well, in many cases, you don't have an eyewitness to a crime. Murders, rapes, child molestations, they don't happen out on the street all the time. They happen behind closed doors. So often there is not direct evidence of a crime. The state relies on circumstantial evidence, as they did in this case. Now, you're telling me that they don't think there was enough hard evidence. I assume that you are referring to direct evidence. There was a mountain of evidence pointing to guilt in this case. And I knew, Piers, and you can laugh into your fist if you want, but on day 2 of jury deliberations, when the juror came in wearing a suit that morning, he knew they were going to announce a verdict. And what that says to me is that in less than, say, 8 hours, they had gone through weeks of testimony. They didn't even go through all the testimony before they reached their verdict. And I think that that's wrong.
I agree with you that the amount of time they spent deliberating was completely unacceptable for a case of this complexity. I think that was, I would certainly criticize them for that. But I still come back to the main legal point, which very eminent lawyers have said to me on both sides of the argument, many of them agreeing that if it had been left to them, they would have convicted, but they could understand why the jury felt there just wasn't enough to be completely certain what had happened. If I was on a jury, I would want to see from my fellow jurors, would you? I mean, you must accept that.
Well, once again, under our American system of jurisprudence, the law is that you don't have to explain to a jury, although I would like to explain to a jury exactly how a murder occurred. But should a defendant such as Top Mom Casey Anthony get a gold star or a benefit because we cannot determine cause of death, because she had the body hidden for so long it decomposed out in a swamp? And when I think of this child being thrown out in a swampy makeshift pet cemetery, for her body to decompose, for animals to pull her limbs apart and gnaw on her bones, why should Top Mom get a benefit because the child was so decomposed? The law says she does not. And your question was dead on, Piers. You said a lot of people don't know how it happened. I don't know how it happened. I don't know, did she smother her? Did she put tape over her nose and mouth? Did she give her too much chloroform? I don't know that. But I know this child was killed. I know she lied about it. I know she put the child in the car trunk and put tape over her mouth and nose, and she died.
Well, Nancy, look, powerful stuff from you. I'd expect nothing else. When we come back after the break, I want to talk to you about Casey Anthony now she's been released and what kind of life we can expect to see her leading.
The sweet life. She had it tattooed on her shoulder, Piers.